Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Stacy Sloan with Keller Williams Elite Realty, proudly serving the Durham and Triangle area for 25 years. Call Stacy at 919-972-1180. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Rachel Z with Rachel Z Real Estate Team Realty. From the Triangle to the Triad, call Rachel Z at 919-323-6068. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Orange Hammer Podcast. Today, my guest is Marc Roberts. Marc, how you doing today?
Doing well.
Appreciate you coming by. Remind me, where did we meet again?
We met at a B&I meeting in West Cary.
Right. Brandon Woolley invited me.
Yeah.
He's kind of my quasi-nutritionist person that I've kind of used to get my life back on track. That was one of the more, I don't know how I say this politely. I'm not a B&I fan. So That was one of the more like tolerable B&Is that I have been to. A lot of them are pretty dry and pretty frustrating and like, okay, you guys do this same spiel every single week for 1 minute. It's got to get old, but that's my 2 cents on it. How long you been in the B&I group?
So I've only been there 3 months.
Okay.
I'm also hearing the same thing. Some groups are pretty, dry and boring, but my group, I'm very lucky to be part of it. It's everyone's really good at what they do, and
yeah.
I'm also going through a process right now of buying a house. It's nice to be in that group to.
Oh, very cool.
One of each person that I need to do different parts of the job.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Get Jonathan Brothers over there to knock it all out for you.
That's right.
Let's just slide that a little bit closer, the mic. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into 2 completely separate things. So professionally, unrelated to you buying a house, you're in dumpster rentals.
Yes, correct.
Are you also doing any of the demo or throwing the stuff in the dumpster, or you just drop them off and pick them up?
So we're just, for us personally, we just drop it off and pick it up. But we do collaborate with certain people that are that do the junk removal as well.
Okay, so you've got subcontractors or people you can highly recommend that will do the physical labor part.
Yeah.
Are you using roll off massive dumpsters with a winch or dump trailers or both?
So yeah, we're doing roll off dumpsters, but we're doing 10 and 15 yards. So like the kind of small to medium sized dumpsters.
Okay. So not necessarily for like somebody like me who needs 30 yards to gut a house, but maybe somebody who wants to like clean out their garage or do a very small renovation.
So the 15s, they should cover, if you're trying to gut a whole house, 15s actually could be good. Because we can do same day delivery, so we can haul, come multiple times per day very quickly and get those dumpsters out of there.
Okay. And what area are you servicing?
Pretty big range, usually about 30, 40-mile range around Raleigh. But we can also go further. Our driver today is going down there, Aberdeen, which is like hour and a half a drive from here. So
okay, I've never even heard of Aberdeen.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like it's pretty almost on the way to Charlotte.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. And I guess there's just an appropriate travel fee if you're going outside of your radius.
Yeah. If it's outside the radius, it's a little bit extra for the fuel surcharge, but not much.
Not much.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what does a you said 10 and 15s, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
What's a 10 and what's a 15 cost?
Typically, a 10 is $330 with 1 ton included. The 15 yard is $370 with 2 tons included.
Okay.
Obviously, depending on volume and location, also how long it's going to stay on the site, we can work out a deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a cap on how long it can stay on a site, or you just ask up front how long do you need it?
So the contract generally would be maxed out at 30 days, but we are a small and growing business, so we don't want to piss clients off, and we will work with you. So some clients are keeping them longer than that, and we're not going to charge you extra for that. Obviously, I just keep communication with you and say, hey, how's it looking out there? It's preferable it doesn't stay out too much longer than a month, but if you need it, we'll let it slide just because we want to make sure we keep our clients happy.
Right. Yeah, I had a dumpster rental service. I liked them because I moved from roll-offs to them, and they were dump trailers exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
And it tore up the driveway and the yard almost 0%. So
Yeah.
it was nice and convenient. And then also a lot of my subs had big enough trucks that we could even move it,
Mm-hmm.
like pull it out of the driveway for an hour and put it back in for like a delivery. But he got very frustrating to me when he put this limit. I think it was like 2 weeks per trailer. And I was like, dude, come on. I need 4 dumpsters in 5 days while I'm gutting, but then I need a dumpster for like 2 months at a time while I'm building the house back up, because you're not creating as much trash when it's like you order the kitchen cabinets. I just need to throw away the cardboard boxes. Like I don't need to fill up a dumpster the same way when you're demoing, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to call you every 2 days, bring an empty, take the full one. Like, so it just became a little frustrating, especially having been like an already predetermined customer that had been rocking a lot of business. But, I understood it. He had the demand, and, there are a lot of you guys, and you all have similar prices, but then there's you've got a couple more days. You're doing a whole month, but then you're also willing to just be like, oh, you need it another week? That's fine. Just call me. Like, if you need it 2 more weeks, I need $10 or whatever. Yeah. So it can be advantageous for people to get in at the ground floor with a smaller kind of startup company as you guys, because you're willing to work with customers, and then as that relationship grows, it's just easier and easier to be like, oh, Corb's going to need 4 this month. Don't haggle him about 35 days versus 30 days. Like, great customer.
Exactly. Like you said, I mean, it's of course you're going to have jobs where it's quick turnover, but if you have one that's less, we don't want to lose you as a customer. So we'll work with you and be pretty flexible about it.
So how long have you been in the dumpster rental trade?
3 months.
Wow.
I started end of August.
Are you fresh to the area as well? Did you just uproot everything?
So I'm from Raleigh originally, and then I moved away for a while. I was in West Palm Beach for about a half a year, then Berlin, Germany for 2 years, and then New York City for the last 7 years, and just moved back. Was looking for a job over the summer, and this job kind of fell in my lap. One of my good friends owns a grading company, and they have ties with the dumpster business I work for.
Okay. So you said you work for. Do you work for, or do you own the dumpster business?
It's a franchise. So I'm the GM of Raleigh.
Okay.
I'm the GM of the franchise. The guy who started the franchise is based out of Charlotte.
Okay.
So I'm in charge of Raleigh, but I technically have a boss that's kind of in charge of North Carolina.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, so completely off topic. What's it like living in Berlin?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome.
Do you speak German?
I do. My mom's German, so I learned it as a young kid. But yeah, I always wanted to be a bike tour guide.
Bicycle or motorcycle?
Bicycle.
Okay.
As I got older, I kind of really fell in love with biking. I did a couple across America bike trips.
Wow.
My first one was right after college, and after doing that first trip, I was like, "Hey, before I get older, let's go ahead and start applying for bike tour jobs just while I'm young." And I landed the job in Berlin, and yeah, it was it's the best job I'll probably ever have.
Oh, so you moved to Berlin with because of that job?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I wanted to live somewhere overseas for a bit and just kind of enjoy life, but I landed that job before I went.
So, bike tour. So, is it like you are associated with a bike shop and the tourists come in and get on a pile of rental bikes and they all have a little earpiece and you have a little mic and you're like, oh yeah, on the left is this guy's castle and on the right is where we're going to have breakfast or whatever. Is it, I know I'm simplifying.
No, it's
but
pretty
is that
similar
pretty
in
close?
concept. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a huge operation. It started back in like 2004. I was there 2015, 2016. And the guy who started it is from Texas. He was working for a company called Mike's Bikes in Munich, and then he and 4 other guides created what's called Fat Tire Bike Tours, which now they're actually all around the world. They'll have several locations in the U.S., including Asheville, North Carolina.
Are they related to Fat Tire Beer?
They're not.
Huh. Interesting.
I know
they should partner up.
Yeah,
burn the calories, then drink the calories. All the run clubs in Durham meet at breweries. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
So it's like you go on this run, and then it's like, let me get all the carbs in liquid form. That's poison. I never understood that part. Like you could meet at like Saladelia would be healthier, but I never, whatever.
But yeah, we in that job though, I would we start out as very slow. It's called a bike tour, but I mean you're going at a snail's pace. It's very flat. Every 5 minutes you stop off at a new historical site and you just explain the history in a fun, engaging way.
You guys are not trying to train for the Tour de France here. You're trying to show tourists the city. It's drastically different level of I gotcha.
I mean, we had people joining the tour who had never ridden a bike before in their life. And there were a few people who had to say, hey, like maybe it's not the best for you. You're falling over after 10 feet. So.
You don't have a trike for them that they can use?
Unfortunately not. Yeah.
I want one so bad. I want one of those bicycle trikes so bad. My Instagram knows it so well because they keep showing me these ads for like this battery-powered pedal assist trike that folds up that I can like throw in the back of my truck and drive to the bike path. And I'm like, oh, I should do it.
That'd be sweet. You should do it.
And then it goes on sale, and I'm like, oh my God, it knows me so well. I'm going to do it. And I just haven't pulled the trigger because they're expensive. But one day, I will do it. Yeah, I don't have great balance, and I really love my the recumbent stationary bike that I have in my gym. I have a gym on the other side of this wall, and I can't get enough of it. I'll do like an hour a day just watching a movie or whatever. Right now I'm going through the Fast and Furious movies, which are all trash, but amazingly at distracting you from the clock. And I'm just like, man, it'd be so cool once in a while. I'm like, man, it's so nice. Why don't I just hop on a bike? I'm like, oh, I don't have a bike. Damn it.
Yeah.
One day.
I actually met a guy last year last year I did another cross-country bike trip. He was in Missouri, and he had gotten partially paralyzed when he was 13 by doing a flip on a trampoline. And he had outfitted his bike to make it electric and was planning on potentially riding across America on this bike, which he had modified so he could swing his leg over the bike and get on there.
That's awesome.
We actually rode with him a little bit. He had like a big American flag hanging off the back of the bike, and he had like really set up in a cool way. And
you just like swap out batteries, or
I mean he'll never do a range where it's a huge range. I think he has 2 batteries on that bike. He made it modified for himself. But he can go pretty far distances, like I want to say over 100 miles.
Yeah,
on a battery charge.
Yeah, some of them are pretty insane now. Like no modification needed. You could just like purchase one of these ones, and depending on how much you want it to help you or not help you, you can really do some crazy distance. And they've obviously modified it within their company where like for not a lot of money, you could just buy an extra battery and leave it in the little basket and like, oh, this battery's dead. Just do a quick EVA, quick swap out, and like you're good to go.
Yeah.
And you could just, you could really do, for me, it's like way longer than I would even need to bike. I'm not doing it across the country or even across the state, I'm more like, how do I get 45 minutes of sweat time in? Like very different situations. Plus, at least for me, and this is very much like me personally, not the world, I cannot stand bikers in the road. Like, go away. Find a sidewalk, find a wooded trail, find a bike path. And so for me, when having a big ass trike taking up the whole road, I would be mad at myself. So I'm more of like, let me drive this bike in my truck to a like wooded rail trail bike path that's like for biking and walking only, and then that's more fun. Yeah, but that's definitely just like my personal. That's welcome to my TED Talk. Yeah. Okay, so what's the biggest food in Berlin?
It's a tough one. It's a very international city. What it's known for is its doner kebabs. It's like there's a huge Turkish population in Berlin.
Okay.
So doner kebabs are the little falafel, different types of meat or different or falafel can be in the middle of it, and it's like a I don't know how you say it, gyro.
Yeah, gyro, whatever, something like that.
But yeah, it's very tasty, very cheap. It's kind of your late night trunk snack.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What's the like stereotypical German food? I always think of like bratwurst and sauerkraut and beer.
Yeah, so that's more like Southern German. Berlin's considered kind of the least German city in Germany is what what people have said a lot because it is so international. What it's known for now is like currywurst, for example.
Oh, interesting.
Which that's a whole nother. I don't know if you know what currywurst is.
Yeah, actually, oddly enough, I really do, because like 4 minutes up the road, I have a friend who imports like 10 different types of brats directly from Germany for an Oktoberfest party that he hosts at his house. So every year he hosts this awesome party, and they have like, they dress up in like the lederhosen, and they have the lemonade and beer mixture, God, what's it called?
Radler.
Thank you. Yeah. It's so good. And he has currywurst as well as like every other type of wurst. It's incredible.
Do you know the history behind currywurst?
0%. No.
Yeah. So after World War II, when East and West Berlin were split up, they had the Russians got East Berlin, and then the British, French, and Americans got West Berlin, and then the Russians tried blocking off West Berlin and creating a blockade so no supplies could come in, because they wanted it for themselves. So they had an airlift, flying airplanes with supplies from West Germany and dropping them in the air to West Berlin so people could get food. And the Americans had like hot dogs and stuff, and ketchup. And the Brits had curry powder, because I believe India may have still been a colony at that point. And so they started dropping like curry powder, hot dogs, and ketchup. And it kind of became a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. If you think about it, that is not that long ago, even.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Yeah, it's like not even a person ago.
Yeah.
A whole food isn't. It is kind of crazy how, like, India, just in this particular context, has been nothing but invaded.
Yeah.
And like taken over, and different, whatever you want to call them, countries, kingdoms, whatever has taken it over. But yet they've never been like, we're going to go take, but yet curry is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like curry, especially in the UK, curry is way bigger than I would have ever had thought. Unfortunately for me, it does not agree with the inside of my body. Yeah. So I'm not a huge curry person. But the currywurst was good. Yeah. Definitely enjoyed those. Spicy mustard all day. Yeah.
They're all right. They're all right.
I mean, they weren't the best brat at the party, but I was just all for it. Chugging down rattlers and plates, just like 8 different brats and 4 different mustards, and I'm like, I'm gonna try every combination. Let's go. Yeah, I was like, I don't need the hot dogs. He had hot dogs for, I guess, like the kids, and I was like, no, I want the good stuff. Let's go. Let's do it. And then some amazing German like pasta salad of some kind. Yeah, I'm sure you'd recognize it and know the name, but I do not, unfortunately. Okay, so kind of New York City-esque, where there isn't really a staple. It's just such a melting pot of cultures.
Yeah, for sure.
So many different types of foods. Not really like Berlin is known for this, the Berlin dog or whatever. Yeah. The Berlin burger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, and I'm assuming beer's huge.
Beer is huge. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everyone goes to Germany for beer, and it's also very cheap there too.
Okay. And is there a reasoning why it's cheap?
That's a good question. I mean, it flows like water over there. It's, I mean, I think overall in Europe in general, people have lower salaries. Also, people, I think, are a bit more conscious of what they're spending. Like, you know, if prices go up too much, they'll protest and won't buy it, and then they won't make any money. You know, so I think over here, a lot of times people don't pay attention to price so much. If it's a trend, they'll just pay whatever for it. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, even beer prices here right now, you see them just going up, because people pay it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really drink, so I don't really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But I know that prices are going up in the grocery store.
Yeah.
You know, right alongside the beer is the produce. And I was having a conversation today, even with a lady who's from England originally, and she was like, "Yeah, I bought a bag of apples, and it was like $7. Someone's making an apple dessert for Friendsgiving." And she was like, "In the UK, it'd be $1.50." And I was like, "What? How's that even possible?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have any, you know, socioeconomic knowledge as far as like this country, let alone foreign countries. So I have no clue. But I think
it's
curious.
transport time too. Just because they're smaller countries, generally they don't have to, all the products don't have to travel as far.
Interesting.
Way less preservatives in their food, but they're also, in Germany especially, they're producing a lot of the food a lot closer. Even if it's in a different country, it's still like, a lot closer.
It's only a couple hour drive. You're in France.
Yeah. We're getting like, avocados and stuff from Peru and South America or California going across the whole country over there.
That's a very good point. Yeah. When I lived in California, the roadside stands had like 8 avocados for $1. And I was like, what? Am I reading that correctly? And now it's like at Costco, it's like 6 avocados for $8.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute, something's wrong here.
Yeah, exactly.
What happened? I had an avocado tree in my backyard.
Yeah.
We couldn't eat them fast enough.
Yeah.
They would drop and they would rot. And like the dogs would play with like rotten avocado. We'd give like a whole brown paper grocery bag to like the neighbor, be like, here, enjoy these. Yeah. Couldn't eat them fast enough.
Dogs are eating guac for their dog food?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I never ate more guac in my life. That was the best. Yeah. I put avocados on everything I could think of. I used to buy these frozen pizzas that were like a goat cheese topping. And I would just smear, not even guac, just avocado on top. And be like, all right, there's my good fats, my protein. Like, let's go. Yeah. Just eat this whole thing like a savage. But that was 10 years ago. So was it always a timed excursion where you're like, I'm here for 2 years and I'm getting out? Or was it very much like, I got this job, let's move to Berlin, and then you just figured out as things came?
Yeah, I did not know. I just knew I wanted to go there and do it. So it's pretty much for a summer, a long summer. Starting in March through like November was my first year. By the end of the tourist season, because it starts getting cold in November, people don't want to ride bikes anymore at that point.
That makes sense.
At the end of the summer, it's very repetitive. It starts getting pretty, monotonous. So a lot of the guides I worked with, they would just work all summer. You save money up, and then the rest of the year you go down to like South America or Southern Hemisphere and go travel for 3-4 months. Come back and do it again next summer.
Were you given the same tour over and over again?
There were different tours. The main tour is City Tour, which everyone does, but then you can also specialize. I'll specialize in the Cold War tour as well as Potsdam, which is like the Prussian kings built their palaces out there, and you can just ride around these beautiful gardens. But yeah, over time, it kind of is generally the same several tours you're doing over and over. So yeah, by the end of the summer, you're like, all right, I'm sick of doing the same jokes over and over. Time for a break.
Right.
Did it one more summer. At the end of that summer, I realized, hey, it's been great. It's been awesome. But at the same time, I got an opportunity where my buddy, who's my roommate in college at UNC Wilmington, had started a real estate company in New York. He was like, hey, you should come work for us. And I was starting to think about it. I was like, hey, maybe that makes sense. So that's what brought me to New York from Berlin.
What part of New York?
In Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have guessed.
Yeah.
Okay. So culture-wise, I was going to say probably a bit of a shock, but probably not actually. Because, again, 2 incredibly diverse, both food, socially, all of the above. Yeah. Obviously, the main language is not English in Berlin, and it is in in New York City, although it's probably Spanish.
You'd be surprised. Berlin is actually, it's actually a lot of English. It's predominantly, I would say the main language in like the center areas where all the international people are is pretty much English.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. There you go. So not that much of a culture change.
Honestly, Berlin as a whole, I would say is very similar to Williamsburg. It's kind of like an edgy, kind of hipster, artist kind of place.
You just had to get used to preservatives and crappy ketchup.
Yeah, and the price of things. That's honestly the biggest difference. Was just going to New York. I was scared. I came over with like $10,000 saved up, and in New York that goes real quick.
Yeah, and I obviously your job compensation was probably higher because they want you to live in New York City.
Well, it was all commission based, so that was the scary part.
There was no base.
I went there with no base. There's no base pay at all. You just got to work your butt off. But the only reason I did, I trusted my buddy. He said, "Hey, like, look, I think you'll be good at this." Like, I trusted that he wouldn't put me in a situation that was not going to work out. So I just grinded. Like, I was working, long days every day, starting out.
Fast forward, you guys hate each other. No, I'm just
kidding.
So, what kind of commercial or residential?
Residential. Okay. It's all rentals.
Oh, okay.
So that's a quick turnover.
So were you managing them, or were you like doing the showings, or what were you doing?
So yeah, starting out, I was just doing just showings myself. And then within a year or so, there was some restructuring at the company. And then they were looking for new people to become team leaders. So they pretty much took their top 4 agents to become team leaders, and that was including myself and 3 others. And they were like, hey, you can hire and train whoever you want to, and you still do your own showings as well. But you'll make a percentage off the people who you hire and train.
Okay.
So immediately, of course, you don't, it's not, at first you might say, hey, these people I'm hiring are taking away business from myself. But if you look at the long term, if you do well, it works out. And to two of those people that got hired on, they didn't really train many people. And so they kind of just fizzled out. And it was me and one other girl that were, really hiring and training people, doing well. We stuck with it and it ended up being very lucrative.
Nice. Okay. And then you said it was about 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years.
New York City?
Yeah.
Same job?
Same job the whole time, yeah.
Oh. And then from there to here?
Yep.
And was it just time for a change, or did you meet somebody, or why leave lucrative and Brooklyn for Raleigh and question marks?
Yeah, it's so when I did move to New York City, I guess I always kind of had a plan in the back of my head that I was gonna at some point go back to North Carolina.
Okay.
A big part of it too is just watching every time I come back to visit, just seeing how much the real estate market's just taken off down here. I was thinking I need to buy a house down here before it's too late. I'm already kicking myself for seeing how much the prices have gone up in the last couple of years. I'm in the process right now of buying a house, and even from 2 years ago, prices have doubled. So I'm kicking myself I didn't buy it 2 years ago, but I think, hey, it's still a wise investment because Raleigh's growing so quickly. But yeah, I just want to be closer to family and friends, and
because they're all down here.
Yeah, I still have a lot of friends up there too, which is it was hard leaving, but yeah, it's just I think it was the right move for this phase of my life.
So there was did you explore the opportunity of staying in the real estate world?
Yeah.
And that didn't seem attractive.
So I came down here, and right now, from what I'm hearing, I went to several different agencies and talked to them. It seems like it's very oversaturated with agents.
Oh yeah.
Everybody after COVID thought, hey, I'm gonna be a real estate agent in North Carolina and be rich.
Everybody was already an agent before COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're I mean this to no disrespect to the many agents that I have had on my podcast, but they're a dime a dozen. The transaction part is not that complicated. Especially depending on your client. If you have a client who's like, I know exactly what I want, and in fact, here's the house, and here's the number, and oh, okay, cool, plug, dot. So yeah, no, I get it, the saturation part for sure. Yeah. I think it's this, honestly, I might be shooting myself in the foot. I think it's the same with general contractors. We're everywhere.
Yeah. Another thing too is I needed money on paper when I came back down here to buy a house. So I couldn't just start and be a real estate agent and, have 1099 or whatever and having random money coming in. I wouldn't be able to get a mortgage.
Right.
So I needed to get a job that had a steady income.
Yeah, I couldn't get a mortgage for this house. I had to have my parents co-sign, actually.
Yeah.
They didn't give me any money, which I'm proud to say, but I was so fresh out of college. I was like 2 years out of college, and I had been doing nothing but working for contractors under the table. So I had no track record of any income. And I was like, but I could buy the house. Like, I could just buy it in cash. I'll just have to like liquidate a bunch of investments and stuff. And they were like, yeah, we don't care. Like, we can't give you a mortgage. And I was like, okay, Mom, like, what are your thoughts? And they were like, well, like, we don't really want to give you anything. I was like, I actually don't need any money. I just need you to like say I'll pay for it. And you're like, it's, you know, the payment's been on auto pay ever since. And then when I refinanced, I had enough, you know, track record where they were like, okay, yeah, we'll let you refinance because now we have, you know, however many we had, I think it was like 7 years of never missing a payment. I put that on auto pay day one. I was like, I'm not messing around with this. And, you know, like you just mentioned, 2 years ago, or, you know, today from 2 years ago, everything doubled. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So this house is probably tripled or more from the time I bought it for $175,000. Like you can't
don't rub it in.
Oh, I'm rubbing it. Let's go. Yeah. You want to compare mortgage payments? Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah. I was talking to somebody, and when I told them my mortgage payment, they were like, "That is so much money," and I was like, "No, it's not." And they were like, "Are you kidding me? $9,000 a month is so much." And I was like, 900, bro, 900. You added a zero, and they were like, "Oh, I just assumed."
Yeah,
because they were like, 900 is too low, and I was like, "Nope." I just got in that early and refinanced early, and I'm in a locked product before
that's awesome.
You know, rates went up and whatever. So New York to here, and then how do you find out about the franchise, the dumpster franchise?
Yeah. So I was looking for jobs for quite a bit in the summer. I actually picked up a side gig as a first off before I started the dumpster business as a trolley pub driver here in Durham.
Oh my God, I've probably seen you and laughed.
Yeah, I've done
actually, I laugh
at
the participants, not the person driving it.
Yeah.
But I've definitely seen that outside of Boxcar.
Yeah, there's a lot of Shania Twain and you know, Britney Spears playing on the stereo.
I more just laugh at the fact that like a year ago, before our like social drinking boundary was put in place, you could not drink on the street with a cup, but you could drink on the trolley.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't get off the trolley with your cup. You had to like sit on the trolley and finish your drink and then get on. I was like, this is very silly.
That's actually a good point. I wasn't here for that, but it was super busy. People, I'm sure a lot of people were going on the trolley pub after COVID. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, I'm a homebody, and again, I don't really do a lot of drinking, so it's not something that I like sought out. So I don't have an explanation on how well it did like pre-COVID to COVID to now. But I know that like almost every time I go to my favorite restaurant in Durham, it's parked 1 or 2 blocks away because it's very close to a lot of bars. And it does seem to be a popular thing with its music and its neon lights. And it's mostly college girls.
No, it's a good way for like you know, bachelorette parties or birthday parties, but also even like parents who are kind of getting their kids out of the house. I met several groups of people in their 50s who were having their last kids, about to go to college now. They all started hanging out together during COVID. Like one of the guys created a bar in his garage.
So like the empty nesters.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's a good
I
way
would have never thought that would be a demographic for that.
Yeah. It's a good way for them to say, hey, like we're all getting together. Let's go have some drinks. You know, usually there's always somebody's like, hey, I need to leave early, but it kind of forces you into it. You're locked in for these 2 hours. We all got to hang out together.
So how does it work? Is it like free to get on and you buy drinks, or is it like $10 a person and then you buy drinks, or is it like $40 a person, drinks are free? How's it work?
So you can either it's either about a little bit less than $40 a person to get on for individual seats, or you can just book the whole trolley for a private party.
What's that cost?
I'm sure it depends. It's probably about in the $350-$400 range.
And does that include any drinks?
It does not. So you can bring your own drinks on the vehicle with you.
Okay, so you can BYOB the trolley.
Yeah. So you bring your own booze, and
you can, or you do?
You do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There is no option to not bring your own booze.
Well, if you don't bring your own booze, you're not drinking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I thought there was like a keg in there.
No, it's not here in Raleigh or Durham. Yeah, you bring your own stuff.
Okay. As you can tell, I have not done this. So So, okay, so if you're bringing your own booze, you're just paying to be trolleyed around?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
It's a good question.
I thought it was like, I thought there was like somebody biking or pretending to bike because I assume there's a motor.
Yeah.
And then,
well, you'd be surprised. The motor actually does not propel. With everyone sitting on it, it's not enough power to go up hills. People have to pedal or they won't make it up the hill.
that does make sense. Yeah. I mean, you add even small girls at 120 pounds, you add 12 of them. Like, that's some weight. Yeah, for sure.
And then when you get the large people, that's when it gets even more difficult.
Oh yeah. If you had 12 of me, I'd be like, sorry, dude, just stay on the flat roads.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, that'd be tough. Yeah. See, I always thought there was like a bartender.
Yeah.
Who was like serving drinks. Like, oh yeah, we have Heineken on tap for $6 a cup or whatever the hell. I didn't realize it was just a BYOB
It's
situation.
BYOB. We have a cooler set up. You just reach into cooler, get drinks, and then I drop you off at 2 different bars, and you just stay in the bar for a bit. You come back out, we go to the next one.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty easy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh.
But like I was saying a second ago, sometimes when you get the really large people, there's the seat. So one of the rules is you have to have a seatbelt on at all times.
Okay.
If you don't, if you're really big, obviously sometimes the seatbelt doesn't fit around you. So there's been a few times where if you can't get the seatbelt around you, you have to sit in the very back where you don't have pedals, and then everyone else has to pedal you, and that's where we run into issues with getting.
Do the pedals actually work?
They do work, and
we do something.
They do, and you have to pedal to get up those hills. Like I said. So there's been cases.
So you really need like your guests, like, okay, we're coming up to a hill. I need everybody to kick up.
Yeah, and the worst is when you get to a red light on a hill, because I have to have one foot on the brake and the other on the gas pedal, and then I have to tell everyone 3, 2, 1. When I let off that brake, everyone needs to be pedaling, otherwise it rolls backwards and we don't go anywhere.
This doesn't seem as much fun as the bike tours in Berlin. I'm just gonna say, like, based on your description,
it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, unless you were getting like really dope drunk people tips, this does not seem like it was a great.
Well, I'm just sitting there. I'm just sitting there with my gas pedal. So for me, it's really easy, honestly.
Is there okay, but there's no like other person working there who's the bartender. Everyone just has their own.
I mean, I kind of can hand people drinks too. Sometimes when we're stopped somewhere, but yeah, they're kind of just they when we're stopped, they get some drinks out. Usually they don't finish that drink before we get to the next stop, but
fair enough.
If they do, they can just like lean over and grab it real quick.
And it's like 2 hours, you said.
It's 2 hours, but like an hour of it is they're in the bars.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of okay. Really? Okay, this is quite the capitalist adventure here.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay, 2 hours, but an hour's in the bar, $40 a person, and you bring your own booze. Whew. Man, somebody's making a killing. Doesn't sound like it was you though, because you quickly got out of there. Okay, so where do you? Okay, so now we're here, and you're biking around drunk people. Take me from there to I started a dumpster franchise.
So yeah, I was also looking for like more of a main job while I was started that as a side job. And one of my good friends, one of my best friends growing up, he owns a grading company, Capital Construction, and they have ties with this franchise called Via Roll-Off Dumpsters, which is the company I work for now.
All they do is grading?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting, because they're called Capital Construction, and all they do is grading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But they have a bunch of different departments. Honestly, I'm not that involved. I don't know exactly all they do, but I know they have a lot of big projects all around. Just like where they go in, grade it, lay the roads, put it in the infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're a much bigger kind of company that's doing like all the infrastructure for a development. And
exactly.
Someone else is actually stick framing the house.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
Exactly.
It's a very important part of the job that a lot of people don't actually talk about, because when you drive through those, cul-de-sac style neighborhoods, even if you're driving up to a construction site, all of the sites have been planned. The roads have been done. The curbs are already done. You see plumbing pipes sticking up from where they're tying in. For every lot's got a plumbing pipe for where like the sewer is tied in.
Yeah.
All that wasn't there. This was woods 6 months ago.
Exactly.
So that kind of company came in and did all of that. And there's actually a shockingly large amount of planning that goes into that infrastructure, and doubly so, it has to be done correct, because it's all buried and hard to get to. You don't want to be ripping up the road and paving it twice.
Yeah. They also own a logging company called Tri-Pine. They go in, they like clear the trees before they start the work.
Nice.
So
Man, I got to get somebody from that company on the podcast. I'd love to hear more about that.
We'll see what we can do. They're always super busy.
I'm sure they are. I'll bribe them with coffee.
Yeah.
They can dump some of the stuff all the tree branches that they're not turning into logs. I got a place they can dump it for free. Maybe that'll get them on the podcast.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, they can dump it behind my shooting berm and just make it safer and bigger. I cleared a bunch of land. Well, so I bought land up north. Well, I don't know, technically, whatever, outside of Hillsboro. I'm going to build a house, and I carved like a 70 by 40 foot section of woods out, dropped a shipping container, then built a lean-to over it. And so I have storage is locked, and then the lean-to, I have an Airstream parked under there, but all the trees, I just piled it behind it, and I was like, this is a perfect shooting berm. No, I don't have to pay to go to the gun range. It was like, nice. Dunzo. Perfect. Yeah. So that buddy is working for the grading company, and they're
he owns it.
Oh, he owns it. Excuse me. So he owns the grading company. He has a contract to use. You said pronounce it for me. Vievo.
Vavia.
Vavia.
It's Italian for dump away.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And so they use them exclusively for their dumpsters.
They also, I'm not sure exactly specifics behind the scenes, but they have a partial, maybe ownership, or they have some kind of ties where they're benefiting from it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So was your buddy like, start a franchise and you'll be my dumpster person?
So they know one of the partners knows one of the investors of Avia, who the investors own the rights to North Carolina.
I'm just gonna slide this over because you're turning your head.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. So he knows one of the guys who's one of the investors who owns the rights to North Carolina. And they had a guy here before me as a salesman. He wasn't really doing his job so well, so they mutually parted ways, and then now they brought me on kind of as the GM of Raleigh. It's more kind of sales heavy and also operations right now to start out.
Okay.
I pretty much sold out all the dumpsters. We're working right now on getting more dumpsters and more trucks as well. As we go, you get a little bit more responsibility bit by bit.
Yeah, that's a common tale. It sounds like I think you're now maybe the fourth or fifth person who does dumpsters I've had on the podcast.
Oh, really?
And
wow.
They've all been like, yeah, we just bought 70 more, or we're in contract to buy another 60. I'm like, how do you guys need these many dumpsters? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm surprised too. It's wild.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's lucrative. I was mostly shocked. Dustin from All American Dumpster or All American Rental, I forget.
Mm-hmm.
He already had 60, then he bought 70. I was like, where do you store them? What field do you own that you have 100 plus dumpsters chilling? And he was like, they're all out. I don't store any of them.
Exactly. That's the thing.
I was like, I was blown away. He was like, maybe we store, 2 or 3, but really it's like we take one, we empty it, we take it to the next job. I was like, whoa. I was like, that is mind boggling. He's like, yeah, I have, he said he's got enough, he lives on 4 or 5 acres or whatever. He's like, I'll take, one home that needs repair or something, or maybe a repainting, but like, that's it. Most of them are in use. And I was just, that particular fact, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I was so blown away of the logistics of where are 140 dumpsters located.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to have a system that, keeps track of it very, very well too, so you can see where they are at all times.
Do you have them like low jacked or something? Like Apple tags or something like that?
No, there's QR codes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's QR codes. We scan them, and it'll show us in the system exactly where we dropped them.
But like hypothetically, if someone had one of those ridiculously expensive trucks, they could just go jack your dumpster.
It's possible. It would have to be the same height as a dumpster though, as where the hook is. But yeah,
most of them are pretty universal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't own this truck. I'm not saying you are in danger. I was just
don't put any crazy ideas in the listeners' minds.
I'm just saying those Apple tags are cheap. You could weld one on to all your dumpsters.
That's a good
and then
point.
You could just boop. Oh, it's moving, and I didn't send a truck.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know what's a dumpster cost.
Yeah, quite a bit. I was not part of the process of purchasing them, so I don't exactly know. But
you should know that number, man.
Yeah.
Come on, ballpark me.
A few thousand.
For one dumpster?
I believe so, yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, you don't want to lose one of those.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense though, because like they can't they can't cost what you rent them for. They've got to cost way more because you're making that back over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So if you were like, yeah, it's $3,000, it's $3,000 to rent. Like, no, it doesn't make any sense.
And then the truck too, like the trucks are super expensive because you have to buy the truck, but then also modify it.
To get that giant cable and the tracks and it's like a tilt back roll off system. Yeah, I'm using hands like listeners can see me, but I've ordered and seen it happen. They're huge trucks.
Yeah.
They're like, for listeners, this is basically the size and power of like a Durham garbage truck. Like it's massive. And instead of a trash compactor on the back, it basically just has the equivalent of like a flatbed, like a tow truck almost, except instead of a solid flatbed, it's got 2 slats for the wheels of the dumpster. And it tilts up and has like a big crank and basically you just wench the full dumpster back on. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So that truck is not purchased. You have to modify that.
Yeah, you have to modify it, and the modification costs pretty much as much as the truck does.
So what's that cost?
I was told around 120 for everything.
Whoa. Okay, so to buy a truck and modify it's $120,000,
Yeah.
and then dumpsters are a few thousand. So this is not a cheap get in overnight type of situation.
Probably not. You gotta have some money to start the business for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Another thing I'm hearing right now is also the landfills. Raleigh has quite a few landfills, but Charlotte, where my colleagues work, they've told me there's like a lack of landfills out there. Someone can make a killing if they were able. But you need a lot of money to start one, obviously, but.
Yeah, you need a lot of land.
Yeah, you need a lot of land and a lot of equipment.
Yeah, permits and stuff, I would imagine. Yeah, I don't really know how that works. I know that I live 2 minutes away from a pay-by dump that I don't think you could take a dumpster to.
Yeah.
Or maybe you could. I don't know. Maybe you go through a different lane. I go there with like a pickup truck full of shit.
Yeah.
And throw it into the like giant, I guess they're 60-yard or 40-yard dumpsters. They're massive.
Yeah.
And then they come by with like bulldozers and they use the giant 6-foot bucket to like smush everything down so that you can really get more crap in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they use one of those crazy trucks you're talking about to like pull that out and bring it somewhere else and load in a new one. And then there's like I have a stamp because I pay taxes type of dump site. And that's like you can't bring big stuff there either. You definitely can't bring a dumpster. I've been told I can't dump stuff sometimes because it wasn't in a bag. Like it's only for like household trash.
Well, it depends on the dump. There's like different sections of each dump where they'll tell you if you can bring it. Most of the stuff we're dealing with is C&D.
What's that mean?
Like construction and demolition.
Okay.
Material. MSW is like municipal solid waste is like where your standard
house trash
goes,
like food scraps and stuff,
disgusting, oozy, nasty stuff. But if it's construction and demolition, it's more like drywall and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so they try to separate that.
They do separate. Yeah,
okay.
It's cheaper to dispose of the C&D.
Yeah, because there's not as many organics. I would imagine you don't have to worry about organics and soil and how that might affect. Whereas like you're burying a bunch of 2x4s. Like, okay, it's 2x4. It's going to just rot away.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest problems we run into too. Like, I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward with dumpsters. Hey, you pick it up, you drop it off, and you just pick it back up, and that's it, and you dump it. But it can get tough when customers start throwing the wrong items into dumpsters. It should not be in there.
Yeah, like tires.
Exactly.
Paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mattresses.
Yeah, I'm real good at hiding that stuff in the middle. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, if you are, it's all right. As long as they don't see it, I don't care. But if they see it, they'll tag on that extra fine, and then we have to bill the customer, and hopefully the customer doesn't get too pissed off.
Yeah, I have been surprised, but then very understanding at all the extra charges I've got because they've all been for weight. So, my guy, whatever it is, 3 tons, 4 tons or whatever. And he's like, hey, I need 47.50 because you went over weight. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, really? You need 47? And then I'm like, wait a minute. I did throw a lot of bricks in there.
Yep.
Like we took down a fireplace. Okay, here's $47. Like, like better than getting like I had to get a specialty dumpster once just for brick.
Yeah.
And it wasn't specialty at all. It was just a small dumpster, and they were like, "Don't put anything in here but the brick because of the weight." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
But yeah, I did have to do that once. It was very annoying.
Well, it saves you a lot of money if you do that way because they probably have a place they can dispose of the brick for cheap or free.
Yeah, you know what's cheaper? Just going on Facebook and posting a picture of the chimney and going free bricks.
Yeah.
Because I have a dude saved in my phone as Frank Brick.
Nice.
Because more than one time we've bought a house, we've demoed a chimney, and the guys will be like, dumpster? I'll be like, no, just stack them by the curb.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I'm like, trust me, just stack all the ones that didn't break by the curb. And then I'll text Frank and be like, they're free, they're at this address, come take all of them. He'll be like, I'll be there tomorrow. Like,
nice.
He's doing something in his garden or whatever. But yeah, I don't think Frank was around this most recent house. Okay.
Yeah, Frank on the podcast.
You know, I probably should find out what he's doing with those bricks.
Yeah, that'd be a great question.
Yeah. So we're doing a 6-minute podcast. What are you doing with those bricks? Okay, thank you. Goodbye. Yeah. I think the shortest podcast I had was like 20 minutes, and it was with an ex-girlfriend, and she manages apartments.
Yeah.
And after like 19 minutes, I was like, wow, this is like pulling teeth. I think maybe we just don't actually like each other as much as we lied and said we could remain friends.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, this was great. Thanks for
Did that air as well?
Oh, they all air.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And I don't edit them. So, yeah, go check it out. It's like episode 7 or whatever. Yeah. It's only like 20 minutes. Her name's Natasha.
That's some pure entertainment right there.
Dude, speaking of entertainment, it gets funnier. I don't remember where, we break up, obviously, and I don't keep track of, like, where she's working.
Mm-hmm.
She changes apartment complexes, and then I straight up run into her with my current girlfriend.
Oh, gosh.
When she goes to look at an apartment.
Oh, no.
So we're in the, like, leasing office with some gentleman who's, like, clearly the lowest on the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the top dog office, my ex-girlfriend walks out and is like, Corbett, what are you doing here? And I was like, what are you doing here? She's like, I run this place. And I'm like, well, this is my girlfriend, Jen, who needs an apartment.
Yeah.
And it was ridiculous, very hysterical. So, yeah, I'm just a walking calamity of hilariousness. Welcome to my life. Yeah. Welcome to me. Have you seen that movie?
I have not.
Oh my God. It's so ridiculous. This woman, I think it's Kristen Wiig.
Which movie was this?
Welcome to Me.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's, I think it's Kristen Wiig, but I might be getting my very hilarious SNL alumni mixed up. Basically, she wins the lottery and she uses the money to start her own show about herself as a way to like hit on a guy.
Oh, wow.
It is priceless. Yeah. It got showed to me by a friend of mine, and I was just like, this is not real. Like, this is insane. How did these people make this movie? Anyway, I was dying. Oh, okay. Bringing it back. Okay. So, dumpsters we pretty much covered. They're kind of straightforward. Before we end, I'll have you shout out like, your Instagram and your phone number and all that stuff for anybody who needs a dumpster rental if they don't just want to call me. When then I could refer you. So I'd love to now talk about the personal side of you buying a house right now.
Yeah.
So what stage are you in your house buying procedure?
1 week before closing.
Okay.
Next week, today.
A week from today, you close.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to close? Or are we
We're
going to
close. Yeah.
Okay. Everything, inspections have worked out.
Everything's worked out. There's like minor issues. We got some money back for that, for the problems there were, but it was pretty minor problems.
Okay. So back me up to the beginning. Okay. So what area were you looking for a house? And is it just you, or do you have a wife, family, anything like that?
I had a girlfriend for 6.5 years, and we broke up a few months ago.
Okay.
Because of the long distance. She stayed in New York.
Stayed in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, back single, back to square one. My parents do live in Raleigh, so I'm kind of crashing at their house right now while I was looking for a house. But yeah, I was be moving in there by myself, just to start out, probably get a roommate, help pay the mortgage a little bit, and then see what happens. But yeah, back to, what was the question again?
Just like what area? I'm assuming you answered it with Raleigh.
Yeah, so downtown Raleigh is somewhere particular. I wanted to be right as close to downtown Raleigh as possible, because I'm a big biker.
So you never want to make any money because you just want to spend it all on your house.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
No one can see his face, but like it's turned bright red.
Yeah. It's I am kicking myself as I've seen those prices in that area go up, but I am comparing it to what I saw happen in Brooklyn. Just these prices just going up in recent years. I think it is a trend with people our age, kind of younger people wanting to move back in toward the city centers. especially right now, Raleigh's just growing like crazy. The house I got is like within 10-minute walk of Memorial Auditorium. It's like right there in downtown. It's kind of in a more of a gentrifying area, but I also have a yard. There's a fair amount of land on it for downtown at least.
So you're inside the Beltline?
Yeah, way inside.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like right there on downtown.
Yeah.
Like it's right next to Shaw University.
Wow, I don't even know how that is possible.
Yeah.
So what was that listed for?
It's 530.
530.
Yeah.
Okay. And how much land
It's quarter acre.
and square footage?
1250. Which
Two-story?
is not big, but it's 2-story. It's not big, but for being that close to downtown, it's
No,
I think it's gonna appreciate a lot in the next couple of years.
I'm not judging you. You paid for location. Yeah. No, I get it.
But I saved up a bunch of cash. I'm a really frugal person. So for years now, when I was in New York, and people laugh at me, I went to New York to save money. But I was able to finagle a pretty cheap rent situation when I was in New York, and just saved a bunch of cash up. And so I put a fair amount of cash down on the house. I don't have to deal with these crazy interest rates so much right now.
Oh, okay.
So my monthly payment is still reasonable.
So
it's not 900, but it's
So walk me through that. So how much on a 530?
yeah.
On a 530, how much did you put down?
Well, I don't want to get into too many specifics here, but
Okay.
no, I mean we tied in with my parents. We put down about 275.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot higher than the majority of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just been a believer of just paying things off as quick as possible. I don't want to be in debt and just also pay so much money and just lost money to interest.
I definitely am with you, with the exception of my mortgage that obviously has an interest part of it. I don't have any.
But it's still 900 a month,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is incredible. I mean,
it's actually $850. I pay $900 a month.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't have problems detailing it, but like I bought my house it was listed $170. I bought it $175. My mortgage was $623 a month in a 10/30, which for listeners is fixed rate for 10 years, total mortgage for 30 years. And around the 7-year mark, my brother, who is in finance, was like, he's like, I can't see the future. The future is just known. You need to refinance.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you're telling me to do it, okay. Because he's the smartest person I know when it comes to like best things for lowest risk. He trades bonds.
Okay.
So that's just all he does all day is talk about risk and how much it costs. And so I went from the 10/30 at year 7, I morphed into a 15-year fixed at the same like 3.2 interest rate. And that upped the payment to like $850, and I pay $900 just so I can pay it off, 2 or 3 years quicker.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So like I'm aware that like, yeah, I'm a smart guy. I ended up making the decisions, but I'm also very aware that like a lot of that is just the circumstance of where the world went.
Yeah.
And I owe a lot to my brother for even just like telling me to do that, because I never didn't think about it. I was like, I'm just going to wait for the 10 years and then the mortgage rate will adjust. And, but I would have been paying like 9% interest or whatever.
Yeah,
it would have been insane.
Yeah.
And never with any sort of lock, it would have just kept climbing.
Yeah.
So it would have been awful. And I wouldn't have even thought about it. And because it would have just been like, okay, it is what it is. Right.
Yeah.
So I really owe him like a debt of gratitude, because now I'm just locked in, and there will just be a moment when, not that far away from now, actually, where this house will just be paid off.
Yeah.
And I'm about to build a new house and rent this one out. And
smart.
This rent will pay for this house's mortgage and the new house's mortgage.
Do you know how much rent you can get for this house approximately?
So approximately like $2,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe even more.
That's sweet.
Yeah, because there are some amenities on here that are not like like comp wise. Because you just bought a house, so you've heard comps all day long. Like not every house that you're going to comp with has fenced in yard. I've got a full 2-car garage. I also have that massive carport.
Yeah,
I've got solar panels. I've got electric or gas. I got a tankless hot water heater.
Yeah.
I've redid both the bathrooms, and they're like really freaking nice.
You installed those solar panels yourself?
I mean, I had them done. I didn't physically do it.
Yeah.
I had Sunrun or Sundollar or one of those companies that's like around in Raleigh do it. It was a lot of years ago, and I got a really good deal because I was like, I'm not doing a monthly. Just give me the cash price. I'm buying this outright.
So you bought it. I'm curious about this. So you bought it outright, and does it go straight into your power, or do you just sell it back to the grid?
Yes, I sell it back to the grid.
Gotcha. So you get a monthly payment, like a set rate, or does it depend on how much the sun shines?
It depends on how much the sun. Basically, my power bill is just lower.
Okay. Oh, sweet. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Because I don't have batteries.
Mm-hmm.
The next house will have batteries. I will still be connected to the grid, but it'll be very, very cheap.
Nice.
And then also I did the whole solar, they calculate it for you. And then after it was all done, like a year or two later, then I got an electric car, which obviously changed how much juice I was using. Yeah. So my bill is almost like the same as it was before, but I don't pay any gas for my electric car.
That's awesome.
And I don't touch that pickup truck unless I'm hauling materials. Because I have like a small toolbox I keep in the Tesla. If I'm doing a small enough job, I'm like, I just need a drill for 25 minutes. I'm not taking the truck. Screw that. Yeah. So I couldn't be happier with the move to add the solar. Then I took the electric water heater away and I went with a gas water heater. That's unbelievable, having on-demand hot water. I can't stress how amazing that is, going from the standard old school big electric round hot water heater.
Yeah.
Useless. Shouldn't even be allowed. Yeah. And then there's like a bunch of other upgrades. I've redid the kitchen. I've added LED lighting everywhere, dimmers everywhere. All kinds of cool stuff. So I would imagine that I could rent this for a nice pretty penny. But
that's awesome, man.
It's one of those things that halfway through the construction process, I'll start getting my rental agent out here and be like, all right, give me some real numbers. What are we doing?
Yeah.
And, I got a guy for that.
Yeah, exactly. I could be that guy.
You can be my rental manager?
Yeah, that's what I did for in Brooklyn.
Well, do you know what houses rent for out here?
I actually don't know the market that well.
Well, then you can't be my guy, man. My guy knows that stuff.
I can learn it pretty quick. You try a high number, and if it doesn't go, you just keep lowering.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Buy for one, sell for two. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Got it. Yeah. Well, if you ever want to go work for Chris Hawks at Weston Woodall and be my rental guy, Chris, I hope you're listening. Okay, so about 1,250 square feet on a quarter acre, 530. You're definitely an abnormal person that I'm talking to who was able to put that much down. In fact, most of the people are trying to figure out how to put nothing down because they don't have it saved.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are using, there's some programs through the VA that are doing 0% down. I know there's some programs through the state of North Carolina that are giving, I'm going to screw up the number, but something like $3,500 for you for closing costs that you don't have to pay back.
Yeah.
Which is just insane.
Yeah.
And then on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you're throwing down $270,000 deposit or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So your mortgage was only, like 230? 260.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, the interest rates are so high right now. It's still crazy. It's still a pretty high amount. But I'm planning on refinancing in a couple, whenever the rates come down.
What did you get your rate locked in?
7.7.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
It stings a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So refinance when it goes down. Do you have some sort of confidence it's going down?
Yeah.
You're like hoping? What's the confidence coming from?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in my B&I group, a lot of people are, you never know. You never predict the future, but a lot of people are predicting it's going to be next, 18 months or so. Rates should come down a little bit. Probably not as nearly as much as it was when you bought your house, but should come down a little bit at least.
Man, I truly think they're full of it, but I hope that I'm wrong.
We'll see. We'll see. If not, it is what it is. I mean, it's still, I would never do something that I'm going to go, broke on, but.
Yeah, well, also you work. It's not,
exactly.
Plus you said you're going to get a roommate.
If I get a roommate, they're going to be paying for half the mortgage. So
if not more.
Maybe more, yeah.
I mean, you get some college kid who just needs a room in downtown Raleigh, $1,200 a month for this room.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm thinking is around $1,200 for that room. And,
I got 10 rental properties.
Yeah.
I got a somewhat of a mindset for this a little bit.
So you have 10 rental properties.
Yeah, they're all in Durham though, so I can't help you with Raleigh
I didn't know
rates.
that.
Yeah,
do
so
you do individual rooms or always entire apartments?
They're all single family houses, and we rent the house as a whole. We do
Gotcha.
not do individual room stuff, and
Okay.
that is not because we have a dislike for doing that. It just, the first one came along and it rented in seconds, and
there's no need for it.
Yeah, there's just no need for it. I have a friend, Sarah, who's actually been on the podcast. She runs Poof Be Gone dump service.
Yeah.
She doesn't do the dumpsters, so she might be somebody that you might actually want to talk to.
Sure, yeah.
Because she does like pickup trucks and box trucks. But if they have so much stuff that you're going to drop a dumpster and they just need her to bring 5 people and load a dumpster, you both get to win.
Exactly.
So I could put you two in touch after this.
That'd be great.
But she has some properties in Raleigh, and she does them specifically all by the room on purpose. And I personally have never understood it. I see one positive, that it is always got a person in it. Because if I'm renting the whole house and I rent you a house for 2 years, because we like a 2-year lease, and then you leave for whatever respectful reason, you buy a house or you moved countries or who cares, then the house is now completely empty. And from a security standpoint, that sucks.
Yeah.
So I've got to get it at least cleaned, minor touch-up paint most likely. Sometimes they just need a whole painting, and then showings and all that stuff. It could take a month.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're Sarah and you're renting them out 3 rooms, 3 separate people, one dude leaves because school ends, one dude leaves because his mom got sick and he's got to move to Arkansas and take care of him, and the third person is like, I'm here, I'm good, I'm continuing to pay rent. And then you just... that person gets to be like, yeah, I could let the door in for showings and blah. So from a security standpoint, she's winning. Yeah. I love that.
But it's also more income generally if you're renting out per room, because you can get more. I mean, that's what I did in Brooklyn. Is these owners would go in, take an old school apartment, let's say it's a 2-bed, chop it up, make tiny rooms, make 4 rooms out of it, and all of a sudden you have a 4-bedroom, which used to be a 2-bedroom, and people come in. I mean, it's probably a little different the market up there, obviously, than it is here. But people were desperate for a room. They might not know anybody else in New York City. They can't afford an entire apartment by themselves, so they just want a room. But instead of let's say it's a 2-bed house for $2,000, you can all of a sudden turn that 2-bed into a 4-bed and get $3,500 out of it. So, but it is a lot more work and a lot more issues that can arise. Obviously, if you have random people living with each other, so you have to.
But that's not apples to apples. So my question to you is, renting that 4-bedroom. 4 different beds is $3,500. But if you rent that 4-bedroom as one giant house, is it still the same amount? Because you just compared 2 to 4.
It would still be less. So let's say $3,000.
Okay.
It would be a little less. You can get a little bit more per room because just if you're an individual person, you're a bit more desperate just to find a place, and it sounds more appealing paying let's say it's around $900. Sounds more appealing to pay $900.
Then how do you deal with things like the utilities? Because like for me, my tenants just like it's on them. I don't even care.
The tenant, at least up in New York, it was fully they have to handle the utilities themselves.
So 4 strangers have to figure it out.
It's very difficult, but you put them in there, and let's say it's usually a lot of the bedrooms is 3-bedroom apartments. You kind of say, hey, one person gets internet, one person gets gas, one person gets electric, and then you guys have to figure it out together. It's on them. Because by law, they can't sign separate leases. They have to all be on the same lease together.
Okay, so you're renting 3 rooms separately, but yet it's still one lease.
They're all on one lease. By law, they all have to be on the same lease together if they're in the same apartment. Up there. I'm not sure what the laws are here exactly as far as that goes.
I have no idea.
But it was a way for, like I said, for owners to make a bit more money. But it could be a headache because if the agent obviously maybe up there, especially, they don't care who it is. They just want to make their money and get get the person in the apartment. And then if people don't get along, it's kind of on the landlord or the management company, which is separate from us renting it.
Yeah, we definitely don't do that.
Yeah, but I got pretty good at like reading people and like matchmaking almost in a way where I could sense, hey, these people might get along, and then get them to meet each other beforehand. That was a big part of what we did, is like make sure they meet each other, make sure they get everything's cool. You don't want to put in some like old creepy 50-year-old man with like a 20-year-old girl. You wouldn't do that. You just try to find people kind of compatible.
Yeah. Yeah. We are exclusively doing like this house is for rent as a whole.
Yeah.
And we did have one person who, while renting from us, just like their roommate had to leave and they on their own got another roommate.
Yeah.
And I was like, basically, we're cool as long as before they move in, I get their updated rental insurance.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of fine because we put everything under her name and she was paying the rent in full. I was like, I actually don't really care at this point.
Yeah.
And then I went there to do a repair and it was like a different person. And I was like, I actually just don't even care. Like, you guys are good. Tenants, the rent comes on auto pay. You call me for repairs only. And like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess we're not as that exclusive, but we don't market individual rooms, I guess is the difference. Like when you find one of Dakota Field Properties houses on the MLS for rent, it's the house.
Yeah.
And the shed and the whole thing. Yeah.
I actually just thought of a good example. One of my buddies lives out in the woods near west of Chapel Hill.
Okay.
It's not too far. Well, not that close either, but not that far.
Chapel Hill's 20 minutes away.
But he's out like almost in Saxapa Hall.
Okay, that's 45 minutes.
Out in the middle of nowhere. But he has like a decent sized house. It has a giant big living room, kitchen area in the middle, and then it has a bunch of like random bedrooms on the outskirts of the house. And then also a barn, which is converted into a music studio / another bedroom. So he has like 5 roommates living there. That house, let's say if you listed that house for rent in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, you probably get, I don't know, maybe $2,500 a month, $3,000, something like that, is my guess. But because he's doing it per room, he's renting a lot also to travel nurses.
Yeah,
which
that's a big thing.
That's a big thing right now. He's making like over like $1,000 for the biggest room. So they're probably making like $4,000 plus per month just on doing the individual rooms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a niche that he has figured out that works out well because you need to have, everything established. Half the time it needs to be furnished.
Yeah.
Travel nurses only need like 6 months. Like that's not, I mean, no smoke to this guy, but that's not like everybody can't do that.
Yeah. It's a big headache. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So it's not something that you want to sustain forever to have 5 people living in, in one
house.
house.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I could have had a roommate in this house. Instead I have a gym. And I just like, there was a moment where I was like, man, I could really use that extra cash. Like it would just alleviate a lot of the, the tightness when it came. Yeah. And then I just remembered like, man, I hated having roommates. Yeah. What are you doing? There's no way they're going to be cool for a month and then they're going to be moody one day and or bring somebody over you don't want in your house, but you can't tell them not to do that, or they're going to eat your fucking food one day out of the fridge. I was like, this is a terrible idea. Yeah. I adjusted my financial life differently. Yeah.
The closest thing you have to roommates is the people on your podcast, pretty much, right?
They're not roommates. They show up for 2 hours and I kick them out. What are you talking about? No roommates. At most, I make them a coffee. I get them a beer out of the wine fridge. Like it's very easy. No, the podcast is nothing but fun. The minute this podcast becomes not fun, I will shut it down.
Nice.
Yeah. No, this started as passion. It still is. Now I've got 2 sponsors, so it's completely doesn't cost me a thing.
Awesome.
And I just love it. Like I never really thought of myself as a good interviewer. I keep being told that I have this skill set, so I'm going to just ride it while I can. And I always find a way to relate to it in terms of it being the construction and homeownership aspect.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to the home ownership aspect in that regard. Will this be your first time owning a home? You've been renting everywhere else?
Renting up until now, yeah.
Okay. And are you planning on doing any work to the home, or is this very much like the stepping stone house for you? Or do you not know? That's an acceptable answer.
I really don't know. I'm for now at this phase of my life, like I said, I'm a big biker. I want to be somewhere where I can be central, right in the city. It's possible maybe I want to have more space in the future, but for now, I think compared to New York, I had one room with like, I don't even know how much square foot it was. It was very small.
It was 4.
It was tiny. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So now 1,250, which sounds pretty small here in North Carolina, but compared to what I had, it's going to be like a mansion.
I mean, 1,250 doesn't seem that small for inside the belt line. It seems tight mentally to me when you talk about it's really $1,175 because of the staircase, and then you're adding a roommate. So to me, I'm like, that's tight. You get like 700 square feet.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I'm going, that's a little tight, but like, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get to walk downtown to go do anything.
Yeah.
So as far as commuting, do you have to go to an office for the dumpster, or is that just a
we
work
have an
phone,
office.
or?
I mean, I guess I don't have to go, but I do go every day because I think it's a good practice just to get in your routine, go into the office every day. I usually do sales routes in the morning before noon, before contractors take their lunch break, and then after that, just eat some quick lunch, or at the office, and just do work from there the rest of the day.
Gotcha.
It varies. Like yesterday, I had to get in the truck and drive the truck myself. So I worked till like 6:30 last night because we need to get some more jobs done.
Do you need a special license for that kind of truck?
No. We make sure we keep the loads under 26,000, so you don't need a CDL.
Oh, okay. Is that the difference with the like 40-yard dumpster truck?
Yeah. As soon as you start going up to 30 and 40-yard dumpsters, that's when you need a CDL.
So was that a strategic design by you and or the franchise company?
In
so
a way,
you could hire more drivers without CDLs?
I don't know exactly their reasoning behind it, but there is a niche right now for what we provide because we're kind of more of the high-end dumpsters. They're like a nice brown color, so they look nice. They're not tacky neon green. So if you're in like
hey, I love my bright orange trailers. You bite your tongue, sir.
If you're like a fancy neighborhood, you don't want the neighbors calling and complaining.
Yeah.
We have QR codes. It lets you know when the driver scans it, gives the ETA. We also put down pieces of wood to protect your driveway. And then also we promise that same day delivery service. So we kind of want to be that customer service oriented brand.
Right.
And we're like I said, we also fit in the tighter spaces with those 15s and 10s. We can fit into like a lot of downtown Raleigh, downtown Durham areas where you have a tight driveway. We can fit in the places where a 30 can't.
Yeah, and then you got to put the 30 like on the street, and you need a dumpster permit, or you get like like you said, neighbors complaining and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, back off! I'm trying to make the house look better. Give me some weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're running into that with my parents are building a house, and their neighbor is the worst person ever. And it's just like complaining about stuff left and right.
Yeah.
And even put stuff in our dumpster and like went over the top. And we're like, no, your name is on this cardboard box. Come over here and get this crap out of our dumpster. I get it for sure. And there's, as we've said a few times, I feel like on this episode, there's enough work. There's enough stuff going around for the ugly 40-yard guys and the pretty 10-yard guys that you are. Like there's and everything in between, there's enough. But yeah, you definitely have that that niche of being able to, especially in the downtown Raleigh area, being able to like back one of those in an actual driveway in front of a garage and be like, have fun, empty out your garage, have a great day.
Yeah.
That does make sense for sure. So does the house that you're going to buy need any work, or is it ready to rock?
It's pretty much ready to rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually looking at places a bit cheaper, either a little bit further from downtown, or also there's a place that was in a great location that I found. Went inside it. You see cracks in the brick on the foundation. Definitely the house was settling, or has been settling for like 50 years. It was built in like 1917.
Welcome to Carolina clay.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
You went in the house, and you could literally just feel the floors were slanted. In the bedroom, half the room was slanted, half wasn't. So I was worried, like, when you go to a restaurant and the table's wiggling always, rocking back and forth. I was like, is my bed gonna do this when I put it down? So we asked for an engineer's report. They didn't give it to us, so we were like, hey, we're not doing that. Let's move on to the next. Ended up found this place super close to downtown, within walking distance, also ready to go. So I was like, hey, let's just pay a little more. It's worth it. I don't want the headache of, every 5 years down the road, something going wrong, having to pay a bunch of money to fix it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah. So what was the process like for you finding your realtor here?
All that was easy. That was through the BNI group.
Okay.
So as you just said earlier in the podcast, our BNI group, everybody who's in there, I fully trust. They're all super professional. Scott Corbin is the real estate agent I'm using. He's, a legend.
He gave the presentation, right? When I was there.
I don't think he was not there that day. I don't think when you were there.
Oh, okay. So who was the guy that, like, I guess is the president, but but gave it over to Brandon because he was the one talking, and he was like, "You don't want to hear me talk
Steve?
for an hour." Maybe
he's a banker.
Yeah. Banker in a suit. Yep, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah. You're right. I don't think I got his card because I was like, I don't need this guy.
Yeah.
A banker.
Yeah.
At least not yet. Yeah.
He's like in his. I want to say I don't know how old he is exactly, but he's like still out playing basketball. With everybody and just doing his thing. He's a super nice guy.
He seemed like a great guy. I just was
Banker,
like
basketball player.
the last thing I need is another banker.
Yeah,
it's like when I go out to a networking event and I meet another financial advisor. It's like, oh, God, I can't even get you on the podcast. You'll never get through your own compliance.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for a financial advisor. Shout out to Connor Lowe. If you're listening, get your shit together. He's been waiting for compliance for so long that we just took it off the books.
Yeah.
He kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then after the third time he pushed it, I was like, I got an idea. Let's not even reschedule.
Mm-hmm.
When compliance is good, call me. We'll put you on the books.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that busy with the podcast. It's like, we'll just put you on the week after you tell me that you're good to go.
Yeah.
Still haven't heard from his compliance. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but the process you're just asking about who do I use? I mean that BNI group made it like I've heard so many people say buying a home is so difficult or you go through so many loopholes. This is just seamless. They just took care of everything for me because you have Scott Corbin, who's a real estate agent. He's really thorough, is inspecting. Even as we first viewed every house, he made checking for different things we should look out for. Was very honest and communicative throughout the process. And then we had my mortgage lender was also in the BNI group, Marc Wooten.
Yeah. Okay.
So they kind of tag team and makes that way easier too. They work together pretty much. The electrician, Carl.
He's coming on the podcast.
Oh, he's coming on the podcast as well. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome.
Next week.
Yeah, he actually checked out our inspector's report and just kind of made notes of how much it would cost to fix the electrical issues. And then we used Landon Fernandez, who was the handyman. He took a look at a few other things.
We did a podcast this past weekend.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. I had a one-to-one with him last week. He's a super nice guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He priced, he actually priced some crawl space, structure supporting, for me. I was like, yeah, man, take this report. Give me a number. He's like, I can do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he
Nice.
was a great dude. We had a 1-to-1 and then we did a podcast recording on Sunday. So
Awesome.
it will, but he seems like a really good dude. I was shocked at how into it he seems for his age because he's a lot younger than us.
Yeah.
Which was surprising based on just experience and how he carries
You call
himself.
me old?
Yeah, you're old, man. What are you, 74, 75?
Pretty much.
How old am I or my knees? What are we talking
My
about?
hips are starting to give out.
Yeah,
so
right. My
that
left
happens.
knee is 112. The rest of me is 32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biking's causing the hip.
It's probably, I would
Yeah.
imagine there's a lot of, wait, the hips, not the knees? I would think it was the knees.
The hip. Yeah.
The hip.
Yeah, because well, I've had issues as well with the cross country trip with the knee, but for the most part, hips.
Interesting. You got to do some hip stretching, flexing trainer. I don't know.
A little Shakira workout.
I guess. Yeah. Let me know how that goes. Yeah. That might loosen or tighten. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Might throw something out.
Yeah. I don't know about that one. Yeah. Okay. So you were saying you had Carl look at the electrical. You had Landon look at what did he look at again?
It was like a crack in the pavement out back and like some other issues that probably don't need to be addressed, but he kind of just gave us a quote on how much it would be to fix.
Yeah.
Also, one was like they said the microwave was too close above the stove, but I think it's fine.
Yeah.
It was just like I think the inspector was just trying to find things.
I've had inspectors on this show, and I know that they have a job, but those inspection reports are entirely too long.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a moment where you're like, okay, this light's not working because it doesn't have a light bulb.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't need to put this in the report.
That was in the report, yeah.
And they put it in the report, and it's like, come on, man. Really?
Yeah.
Just 3 pages to tell me I need a light bulb?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just tell me there's some cracks here? Worry about those. This joist is not nailed. Nail it. Like, come on, man. But I do that service all the time. As a GC, I have realtors send me inspection reports left and right.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's 182 things on here.
Mm-hmm.
Skip 178 of them.
Yeah.
Go to these 4 particular numbers, and that's what we need quotes on. And I'm like, cool, Venmo me $100. I'll have it on my letterhead in an afternoon. Like, no problem. And then they'll go fight at closing, and then the homeowners may or may not call me to actually do the work. It's fantastic.
So you get paid a little bit to do that report?
Yeah, I charge $100 for that service.
Cool.
And what's cool about that is basically I get that from the realtor.
Yeah.
Then after the house is sold, the homeowners have something that's like pretty damn close of what it will cost. And then they get to decide whether it's like something they can afford, something they actually care about. Like I know there are plenty of cases where I've given a bid, gotten $100 from the realtor. This is all based on an inspection report. And then the homeowners were like, we don't actually care. We were happy to get $8,000 off the purchase price, but we don't really care about this, so we're not going to fix it. And I'm like, I respect. I hear you. You worked the system. And that's why I charged $100, because I used to do it for free, being like, oh yeah, then I'll get the job.
Yeah.
And not enough of those jobs came through where I was like,
you're wasting a bunch of time.
Yeah, you want me to take 3 hours and go through an inspection report and give you something official on my letterhead with my license number? It's $100, so that's cheap.
As you should charge. At least that.
I charge $100 to give quotes, like directly to the client, just because the fact of the matter is, it's like I'm a one-man band with a subcontractor for everything you can think of, including you.
Yeah.
And if you want me to come out, half the time I'm going to bring a specialist. The other half is just going to be me, but then I'm going to take all the info I need and then go home and send it to 4 or 5 subs to really get you an accurate number. And one of those things I'm sending could be Talbert's Lumber to get windows quoted, doors quoted, lumber prices, whatever. That all takes time. It costs my subs time. It costs me time. I drove to you. I drove back. And if I drove to you, I didn't drive to somebody else.
Yeah.
So if you want me to come out and give you a real estimate, because I can give you a fake one over the phone, anybody can. Oh yeah, it's $12,000. And then it was really $4,000 and I put $8,000 in my pocket. Or I can take some time and be like, okay, it's $3,000. I need to make $1,500. It's a $4,500 project. And here it is in black and white.
Yeah.
So that costs $100. But then when you hire me, I take the 100 off. So it's a free estimate if you hire me for the whole project.
That's smart, yeah.
But if you don't hire me, you got a real estimate that you can use to compare to anybody else you want to hire, and I got paid for my time.
That makes sense.
And when I explain that to clients, they're like, "That's totally cool." And I've even had clients been like, "That's totally cool, but I'm just the one calling you, and I know my corporate boss is not going to approve that, so we have to part ways." And then I have other clients who are like, do you take Cash App? Like, sounds great. Can I give you 100 when you get here? Like, yes, you can. Totally. So I've had every response to it. But I've never had like a super negative, that's not fair, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's always like, we can't do it, but I understand.
Yeah.
Or let's do it. So I find it to be just a good way to cover my ass. If I'm going to drive around and do 5 estimates, if I'm going to drive to the other side of Raleigh, 45 minutes each direction, it's an hour and a half just in the car. That's my time.
Mm-hmm.
If I was spending an hour and a half putting in cabinets, I mean, I'm like $70 an hour. So, there you go. Okay. So we talked about the house. We talked about the dumpster service. We got a whole peek into life in Berlin. I love it. This is amazing. Oh, before we wrap up, what's the, pronounce it again. I know it's Italian.
Va Via.
Do you guys have, I know there's probably a big corporate website. Do you have a personal, like Raleigh only website or Instagram or anything like that?
We do not at the moment.
Okay.
It's just a big corporate website, govavia.com.
Govavia. Spell it for listeners.
the website's GOVAVIA. And V is in Victor. Vavia. Right.
And is there, for those who are more old school and want to just call you directly, do you have a direct line?
Yeah. So my number is 919-306-9454.
Okay. And that'll get you direct for dumpster rental in everywhere that's not Charlotte, I guess, because that's where the other guy is.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But also, if you're in Charlotte, you can also hit me up. I can give you the number for Charlotte as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course. I'm sure if you don't service it, you're happy to find the other person. You guys do outside of North Carolina?
So Vavia, it's based out of Nashville.
Okay, cool.
They have like 21 cities, mostly in the Southeast.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a big company then.
Yeah, it's pretty big, yeah.
The last thing I want to ask you about, just because you're not the first dumpster franchise, but not the first franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Did they really help you as far as like the tools and systems that they have as a company when you became a franchise owner?
Yeah. I mean, the systems they have in place are really beneficial. I am new to the industry, so I don't know how much to compare it to other things, but I know that the systems we use are very good at what they do, and we always have somebody to call if we need help.
Yeah.
We have weekly meetings, or even multiple times per week. We have people from the franchise we can call, but I also have the guy who runs the franchise in North Carolina, he's been through exactly what I'm going through, but 2 years ago in Charlotte. So he's a great resource to have.
Right. Yeah, because there's a lot of franchises that somebody could get into, from, fast food to I've had a painting guy on here, now a dumpster guy. So just curious to see, like, if somebody's interested specifically in starting a franchise but really has no like draw for a particular type of work, knowing that your parent company really has good systems, and just good resources, and is not just kind of like, yep, here's our name, have a great day, and is really like involved in giving you the tools for success. That's good for listeners if they're thinking about doing the same thing. Yeah,
I mean, even yesterday, like the guy from Nashville, from the franchisor, he called me up. He's like, hey, I have a client from South Carolina who's coming up to Raleigh to do a job. He pretty much gave me a free job. So they're doing stuff like that all the time. They're also connecting us with like large builders to land bigger contracts too.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome, man. Yeah. Well, that's really good to know. Yeah, if anybody's interested in starting a franchise, but you don't know what direction you want to go, give it a shout. Give it a shot. Give it a look into it at least.
Yeah. It's, I mean, like I said, I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but it's been worked out pretty smoothly so far. It's, if I can do it, I think anybody can.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I
mean, we're still only 3 months in here, so we'll see.
But 3 months is enough where you're like, shit, this was a mistake.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And as always, the Orange Hammer podcast is on Instagram, Facebook, X, all of that jazz. You're listening on Spotify, most likely. There's a YouTube page. Please go check it all out. Also, apparently, the podcast will show up to more people if you listeners leave me some 5-star reviews. So if you enjoy where you're listening, hop on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and throw a 5-star review up there. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to come on the podcast or need work or just want to tell me I'm doing a terrible job, you can email me at corb@WSDG or call me 845-489-6057. And that's all of that information. And Mark, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming and sharing your story. And let's get some dumpster jobs going.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you coming. All right, everybody. Bye. Have a good day.